Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to the ENSO update for June 2017. So we do these updates every month, seeing what's happening in the equatorial Pacific in terms of ENSO. The last update we did back in May was suggesting that El Nino had stalled. The storyline this year has been that early in the year we appeared to be moving towards El Nino, but around April, May it stalled. We stopped seeing warming of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, and actually a little bit of cooling had occurred in the eastern part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean last month. Well, now we're going to see what the latest developments are. We'll also have a look at some forecasts as well to see what is being predicted for the remainder of the year. We're going to start off with this chart, which is the ENSO cold and warm episodes by season chart from NOAA. So you can see that back last year we did have a very weak La Nina, a very weak cold event in the equatorial Pacific Ocean. Barely reached the threshold of a La Nina actually, but just about managed it. Since then we've gone back to ENSO neutral, so we see the black numbers appearing in the boxes. Albeit, we have moved on to the warmer side of ENSO neutral. So our latest number comes out at 0.4 degrees above average in the central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean for the tri-monthly period March, April and May. So we are warming up very gradually in the eastern part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, but by no means would you say that we are in an El Nino event at this stage. Now, this is how things were looking this time last month when we did the May ENSO update. This was from the 22nd of May. And of course, this is the region we're interested in, which is the equatorial Pacific Ocean. We've got Peru over here, and Indonesia is over here. And when you get the warming of the ocean, when this area goes sort of a vibrant orange or red colour, then that's the signature of El Nino. Now, what we saw last month is that actually very little warming had occurred, and we wasn't all that far from ENSO neutral, really, albeit on the slightly warmer side here in the eastern part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. But essentially, we was at ENSO neutral last month. This is the latest, and there's been very little development again. Yes, we have seen a little bit of warming here over towards the eastern part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, again over towards the Peruvian coast. That's fairly shallowish water though, just there. It is prone to seeing temperatures lifting up and cooling down with the weather patterns. In this central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, sort of the deeper waters, then there's been very little development, you have to say, in that area compared to last month. Again, that situation last month, this situation now, very little development in the eastern part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. So at the moment, El Nino remains rather stalled. This is how things are looking in terms of subsurface temperature anomalies. So that chart just there is indicating the sea surface temperature anomalies, but this is the temperature anomaly subsurface. And so what you have to think is that this just here is kind of the surface of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, and then all of this underneath is the subsurface temperature anomalies of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. So the further down we go, the deeper we go to the bottom. Eventually we reach the bottom down here of the Pacific Ocean, very deep ocean, of course. So what we can see is that we have got some warm water in the subsurface of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. This area just here is indicating warm subsurface temperature anomalies. Not to any great depth. The scale is along the side. It's around sort of 1 degree at best above average here in the sub part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. Nevertheless, we might be starting to see a slight signature for El Nino beginning to occur at the subsurface level. I want to see this next month and see whether these anomalies that we have here continue to warm up or whether they stay where they are. But maybe at the subsurface level we're starting to see a slight signature now for El Nino. It remains to be seen. Now, the SOI is one of the important indexes that we look at to see whether we are indeed going into an El Nino event. The SOI is really just an index that reflects the state of the atmosphere in the Southern Ocean. As with all the indexes that we look at, it's same with the Arctic Oscillation, the North Atlantic Oscillation, the QBO, quasi-biennial oscillation. All of these indexes are just reflecting the state of the atmosphere. So this one, the Southern Oscillation Index, is effectively reflecting the state of the atmosphere between Darwin in Northern Australia and Tahiti in the South Pacific. So when the SOI is negative, it tells you that the atmosphere in the Southern Ocean is sort of in a state that's reflective of El Nino. When the SOI is positive, it tells you that the atmosphere in the Southern Pacific Ocean is in a state that's reflective of La Nina, of the cold event. And what's been happening over the last 2 or 3 months, and one of the reasons that this El Nino event has stalled, is that the SY has been trading numbers. Now, this is quite indicative of what's been going on, really. So, on the 23rd of May, we was at minus 3.74, and on the 24th of May, the SOI was at minus 5.27. So that's reflective a little bit of an El Nino type atmospheric setup. But then on the 27th of May, you notice we go very positive to plus 15.34. And on the 28th of May, we go to plus 25.76. 29th of May, we go to plus 26.91. That is the atmosphere being reflective of a La Nina event. So trading scenarios between El Nino and La Nina, and that means that the atmosphere is kind of fighting against what the ocean wants to do. The ocean essentially wants to go to an El Nino, but the atmosphere has been fighting against it. However, I think we are seeing signs of a change now. So if we come down to the 1st of June, we can see that the SOI for that day came out at minus 3.80. And then go to 2nd, we come out at minus 9.91, and the 3rd comes out at minus 19. Carry on to the 4th and 5th, again, negative numbers, 6th and 7th of June, minus 14, minus 14 respectively. 8th, 9th, 10th of June, all coming out with minus numbers, and if we carry on further down, we'll look at this, we go through to the 11th and the 12th, and we go very negative with the SOI, minus 19 and minus 24, and this continues on. So actually I can go right way down to the very last number, which is on the 21st of June, minus 1.62, and so far up to when I'm recording the video, we haven't had a single positive SOI number. So it appears that June is now starting to shift atmospherically into an El Nino setup, because every day in June has had a negative SOI number, albeit not very negative at this stage, but all days through June so far has had a negative SOI number. It appears that the atmosphere is shifting towards an El Nino. So we know we've got this, albeit quite modest, warm water at the subsurface level of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. We know that on the surface of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, the anomalies are on the warmer side of ENSO neutral, and we can see that the SOI has increasingly shifted through the course of June into an El Nino type setup. So the atmosphere is reflective of El Nino, and this tells us that we may now be starting to shift in towards El Nino type setup. If the atmosphere locks in, then the ocean, I think, will start to respond. So we've had a bit of a wobble, or very big wobble, on this El Nino over the past 2 or 3 months, but are we now beginning to move into an El Nino event? Let's see what the models want to do. So this is the CFS V2, this is region 3.4 forecast from the CFS V2, and at the moment it's still just keeping things at ENSO neutral. So this is where we are right now in June. We're just there, very much on the borderline of ENSO neutral to just trying to get towards weak El Nino conditions. The black dash line here is the ensemble mean, and that's staying around ENSO neutral. To go to El Nino, you've got to go above 0.5 degrees above average over 5 tri-monthly periods. So you've got to go up to this sort of level to get an El Nino. It's not doing that, it's keeping things around ENSO neutral. And interestingly, at the end of the year, this is January 2018 just here. It's actually cooling things down a little bit. I think we can discount that, it's too far away. But the broad thrust of the Subsurface V2 is to keep things just around ENSO neutral to the end of the year, this period just here. Albeit on the slightly warmer side, but no sign, certainly from the model, that it's going into El Nino condition. One thing I would say, however, is that each line of spaghetti is an individual ensemble member. These red lines are the earliest ensemble members. The blue lines here are the latest ensemble members. So the latest ensemble members, you can see that several of them are now going towards weak El Nino condition. Is that the model starting to respond to what's happening in the atmosphere? The atmosphere, we know it through the SOI, through June, has gone towards an El Nino type setup. Is that the model now starting to respond to what the SOI and, of course, the atmosphere in the end is doing? We'll have to wait and see next month. This is the ECWF. This is the forecast for region 3.4, which is kind of like the central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, if you like. Again, this is going for sort of neutral to weak El Nino conditions. So this is the ensemble plume just here, this red area. This is where we are right now. We're just there, and you can see that the dates on the bottom of the chart, of course, the temperature anomalies along the side. So the broad sort of trend of the model is to be in that sort of zone. I think we can discount these members up here, which are going for sort of strong El Nino. We can also discount these members down here, which is going for weak La Nina. The broad trend of the model by the end of the year, this period just here, is to be somewhere on the border of ENSO neutral to, let's say, weak El Nino. So that's kind of like the central point just there. And that is on the border just there between ENSO neutral, albeit on the warmer side, and a very weak El Nino event. So it's not seeing a strong El Nino, certainly it's not seeing a cold event particularly, just wants to keep things very close to where we are now, maybe going a little bit warmer, towards the warmer side by the time you get through to the end of the year. And then finally, we've got the Jamstech IOD. I'm going to go through the last 3 months of ENSO forecasts from Jamstech. So this is what it was seeing back in April, when we did April's ENSO update. It was going for a strong El Nino event then. You can see this red line, how it's lifting up here and reaching this sort of level just here. That's a strong El Nino that the model was predicting for the end of the year. Back in April. Well, last month we saw quite a dramatic reduction in the temperature forecast for the ENSO region from Jamstech. So instead of being up around here at the end of the year, which is a strong El Nino event, it was actually down there, which is much more of a moderate type El Nino event. So we went in April from a strong El Nino event to a moderate El Nino event being forecast by Jamstech in May. The very latest is this, and again we've seen another really quite dramatic reduction. So now it's barely going for an El Nino at all. You can see how this red line is just kind of flatlining just underneath an El Nino event. So this is ENSO neutral just here. Anything above that is a weak El Nino. That is a moderate El Nino, and that's a strong El Nino. So you can see the way the red line is sort of flatlining just at ENSO neutral on the warmer side, and then maybe clawing its way up ever so slightly towards the weakest possible El Nino, occurring just there right at the end of the year, and then it starts to decline it back to ENSO neutral again. So if the Jamstech is right, and this is reducing this El Nino event month by month now, from where we started in April with a strong El Nino event being forecast, we've gone down to barely an El Nino at all. If this is right, we will go from one of the weakest La Nina events ever recorded to one of the weakest El Nino events ever recorded. And actually, to be serious for a moment, I don't think that really gets to the threshold of an El Nino, because although it does go very briefly above 0.5 degrees above average, it does get to it very briefly, I don't think it does it over 5 tri-monthly periods, and that's something else you've got to do. You've not only got to reach the required temperature, which is going to 0.5 degrees or more above average. You also got to do that over 5 tri-monthly periods, and I don't think the Jamstech gets that. So it has gone from a strong El Nino event basically to forecasting ENSO neutral for the rest of the year. However, will we see a response from these models next month to what's happening with the SOI? That's going to be the big question. I think July's ENSO update is going to be very pivotal. If we continue to see negativity of the SOI, so if the atmosphere essentially continues to reflect El Nino in the Southern Ocean, we should start to see a response from the ocean surface temperature anomalies. We should start to see warming occurring. And if that happens, we might start to see the models swinging back towards an El Nino forecast. So will the models shift from ENSO neutral to El Nino next month? Come back for July's ENSO update. I think that will be one of the most critical ones of the year to see where things are going. Tomorrow we've got the first season weather roundup for the summer of for the autumn, I should say, of 2017. So come back for that tomorrow. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.